Quentin, whenever I bring up the problem of evil to theologians, theistic philosophers, they get very nervous and they talk very fast. This is a problem for them. Do you think legitimately so?
Yes, it is, and they think, well, it's not bad enough problem to refute theism. But I think it actually does refute theism.
How so?
And it first became apparent to me that it was certain that God did not exist when one night I was staying in a cabin, and in the middle of the night, I heard some animal eating some other animal. I heard one animal screaming in agony and bones breaking. And then I was thinking, there's a law of eat or be eaten, of carnivores. And I was thinking that no good, all-powerful, all-knowing God will create a law where in order to stay alive, you have to murder some other creature or else be murdered by them and eaten by them. And so there are animals like rabbits who eat vegetables, and they aren't carnivores. And I think it's highly likely that a God, if they created animals, would have created just vegetarian animals. And that's one reason. And I call that an evil natural law of eat or be eaten. So only an evil being could have instituted that law. And then you go on to...
So you're proving the existence of an evil being.
No, I'd say hypothetically, if you want to talk about some person who metaphorically created the universe, and I think that whole idea is itself logically incoherent, but pretend for a moment it is, then I'll say that being was evil.
Well, aren't you imposing your reasonably limited, finite understanding of what everything is all about and imposing your value system on this gigantic universe of which you, frankly, and me together know extremely little?
Well, I'm using as my evidence what the theists use as their evidence and what scientists use as their evidence, using what we do know about the universe. And it's not a personal value system to say that it's a good thing that a tiger is going to tear apart a zebra's neck and eat it. The ones who watch that say, oh, isn't that a wonderful thing? Everyone recognizes that's bad.
Well, look, certainly it's our impression, but if one wants to say that that death is part of the world, death is never pleasant. There's all different ways of dying. Death is an important process in evolution and in changing of generations. I mean, this is a complex world. The world that you're trying to create sounds so simplistic to satisfy our small wants that maybe you're thinking too small.
I wouldn't say they're simplistic. I would say there's so many possibilities to create a world so much better than our world that it's inconceivable that a perfectly good and powerful being could have created our particular world. And you mentioned death. Everyone thinks death is bad.
Yeah,
and
I would agree.
Why would a good being create something that people dislike the most, dread the most? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, certainly that's right, and theists almost universally will agree with that, and then say that there is another piece of the story. The book doesn't end with the chapter on death. There are other chapters of the book afterwards. We don't know what that is or how it works. Everybody has different ideas, but the book's not over when you die.
Well, the scientific evidence contradicts that hypothesis. There's abundant scientific evidence from neurophysiology and psychology that consciousness requires a brain. And it contradicts science to postulate some kind of heaven where we're conscious but don't have brains or bodies.
We certainly have no physical instance of that, but almost by definition, how can science, which is limited to the physical world, be able to discern something that you're defining as not physical. So science has almost abstained itself from being a methodology that can be even used to discern it. Because science deals with the physical world. If you're defining a non-physical world as something that's not physical, by definition, and science is as a methodology for the physical world, you are abrogating the right of science to deal with anything else.
Well, science doesn't limit itself to the physical world. It's tried to explain things like out-of-the-body experiences, where a consciousness would leave the body, hover over, say, the operating table and watch it, and they investigated that for a long time until finally they explained it by the blood going to the back of the brain and the brain producing a lot of norepinephrine when they die, and so as to produce a pleasant imaginary experience, so death will not be experienced as horrible, and so fellow human beings will not live dreading death.